You're listening to the Platte River Bard.
Hello, and welcome to the Platte River Bard. This is Chris Berger.
And I'm Sherry Berger.
And we are here with Morrie Enders, the Executive Director of the Lincoln Community Playhouse. Mr. Enders, thank you very much for talking with us this afternoon.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Welcome. It's just such a pleasure to be able to talk to you. You have so many exciting things coming up. We wanted to be sure to talk to you about them. And I know that you've just announced your season, so this seemed like a really good time.
Perfect time. Yeah, we're going into season 77 here at the Playhouse.
Wow, 77.
Right. That alone is a miracle, right? In the theater world.
Yeah.
In the community theater world, especially. 77 years. Yeah, we've been around a long time. We've been in our building since 1972 on South 56th Street in Lincoln. We started, before that, we were in a old synagogue. And before that, we were in a bathhouse.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah, I would love to see the pictures, but I guess maybe you can't see them because they're not safe for work. A bathhouse. And then originally we started out as a little group called the Circlet Theater because the people met in a lobby of a hotel and they got in a circle and read plays together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's quite a career through all those years, and now we're in our own building since 1972. That's been designed to be a community theater. Mm-hmm. It has two spaces, a 272-seat main stage, and a 100-seat black box.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Oh, that's so neat.
That's
and I know that
never knew that about that. That is fantastic.
I didn't either. And I know that during the pandemic, you really adapted quickly. You were doing things out in your parking lot, and
yes. You very agile, very quickly. Yes,
it was crazy times.
Yes, it was.
So when COVID hit, we were in our last weekend of the Sunshine Boys by Neil Simon on our main stage, and I felt like we were like in the what's that Twister movie where they're chasing the tornadoes. I felt like I was running away from the tornado. But you could feel it coming towards you. Like all of a sudden people started calling, going, I'm not coming to the theater. And we're like, can we make it to 4:30 on this Sunday afternoon before we're shut down? And we did kind of make it. And then it was like, chunk, and everything shut down.
That was it.
Wow.
And so, so what are we going to do? So we didn't do anything for a little bit. And just sat around and panicked, I guess. And then it was like, okay, so what can we do? And so we started doing a lot of video things on social media where people could record their own videos at home. We called it LCP Connect. And people would post their favorite, they'd sing a song or whatever. And we'd connect them up with the hashtag. And then that developed into doing the songs where everybody sings a piece of it and you kind of stitch it together.
Oh, yeah.
But that's really hard.
Yes, that's much harder than you think it's going to be. Yes, it is.
Exactly. So we made it through two of those before we went, wow, this is really hard.
Yes.
And so then what else did we do? And I did not come up with the idea of moving into the parking lot. I stole it from other theaters because, of course, we're all writing each other saying, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
How are we going to get through this?
You didn't have a lot of options.
So we did what we called parking lot plays. Yeah. And so with that, we had several nights where we had concerts where people would sing solos and duets, and families would sing together. We also had a children's production of a radio show, which was about the Wright brothers, had the sound effect people. And then we did a melodrama. That was John Burkhart, who did a lot of melodramas in the day, had a bunch of them handy. And so we did one, and it was a lot of fun. And we had a FM transmitter, like, when you're doing Christmas music and you're going around and looking at the light displays, it says, tune your radio to this signal, and it's coordinated music with the lighting display at the person's house. We got one of those FM transmitters and got a little soundboard to make that work. And people would come up, they'd drive up. We had the specific places that they could drive up. We had a little stage. then they would tune into that FM signal and they'd listen to the performance because the actors were mic'd. The only problem that we had was when we did the melodrama, especially, people would honk at the villain instead of booing him. Yeah. They're like, that
is tremendous.
Oh, no.
Right? It was great. The only problem is we're kind of in a residential area.
Right.
So, so suddenly these poor people that are, one layer of trees away from us thought they were on the LA freeway.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They were not happy. Well, somebody was not happy enough to call the city and put a noise violation on it.
Whoops.
So we had to not do any more beeping. You had to.
That's great, though.
Couldn't beep anymore. And then we were like, so what else can we do? So we did old time radio. So we could rehearse by Zoom with everybody. Yeah. And then they would come into the theater and they would spread around the place, and everybody was hooked up with their own little wireless microphone, and we could record those. And then later in an edit bay, do the sound effects and music. We had a guy who did original music for them. And then we produced those. So we had, even though we were closed, we had like 140 roles for people through the radio thing.
Nice.
Which is pretty amazing when you're not
amazing.
doing any plays.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was all very good. That helped to keep us busy and kept people connected with us. And then, of course, there was a great support from the government, which was really helpful with the PPP loan.
Yeah, and it was nice that you guys were able to realize the technology that you had available. And, I mean, we can put together a radio show on our computer now. I mean, with some microphone. I mean, that's fantastic. You guys were able to say, "Oh, hey, by the way, we can do this."
Yeah,
because most people can do that. They don't know they can do that. A lot of stuff with technology.
Well, I can't do it.
Well, but you're
fortunately
your folks
we have
did.
People,
yes,
we have people here who can do that kind of thing.
That is excellent, though.
Yeah. In fact, and then one of the radio shows we did was, I thought, as long as we can do this. So we did a Morrie reunion show. So I've been in different theaters in my career. And so we pulled in people from around the country, and we actually did record that online. Everybody was online in their various homes. Yeah, we had people on the East Coast, up in Minnesota, in California, and we all did a radio show together.
Oh, how neat. You're one of the ones that you guys were so active during this time, and you pivoted like so well and did things. It makes me wonder if people will ever do, like a throwback pandemic event or something in the future, because you made it so memorable.
I think we're too scarred for that.
Too soon? It's too soon.
Yeah, too soon. And it was kind of funny was we actually, for the parking lot plays, we got featured on Good Morning America. We got featured on national television.
I remember
right?
seeing. That's right.
Yeah. And all of my peers from around the country are like, we're doing parking lot plays. No one called us, or we did it first. And I'm like, I didn't. In the interview, of course, which was cut, was we found out about this from other people, and so we ran with it. Of course, they cut that out because they want to make it look like I'm the only one in the country that does it.
Right.
There was some jealousy, but I got to say, I told the people, I said, look, here's the deal. So when one of the people was from the TV was talking to me, prepping about doing this interview, finally, then she goes, now, where are you again? And I was like, they really researched me. Yeah.
Where are you?
Yeah.
Maybe that was to make up for that noise violation that you got. Somebody wanted to put some good juju out there for you guys.
There you go.
But it was fun to be on national television for it. I admit it, and and also it just it did tell the story that community theaters around the country were pivoting and trying to figure out ways to keep their people engaged. Because the theater people, I mean, you can imagine the theater people have in their souls the need to perform.
Yes.
Yeah.
And suddenly they weren't performing. No. So that was killing them inside.
Yes.
So finding these little opportunities really helped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, mental health. Think about the mental health problems of being a performer and not performing.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Online
became kind of a solace for a lot of people. Especially the live performers. I'm with the group, and we're live performers, and we pivoted to online. It's like, okay, well, I guess we're online now.
Now they have to keep it up. And that's what I wondered about, your challenge as well. If you feel like you have to keep some of this up.
Well, I think we're all relieved actually that we're coming back to live performance. We did not do streaming of shows.
Okay.
A lot of theaters did that. We felt these other projects were keeping us going enough that we didn't need to go into streaming because, I even find it hard to watch streaming things sometimes, and I'm a theater person, so
right.
And it isn't the same thing. I mean, it's a really sad facsimile of a live performance. Mm-hmm. So we didn't do that. So, but we're really glad to be back and have some audience members. When we came back, we programmed very small shows, basically. So we started with the Fantastics. Calendar Girls, our biggest show. We had a one-man Christmas Carol. Yeah. Our biggest show was really the Penguin Project, with which Elf Jr. last in the holiday season. And that was even risky. I mean, when we were programming these things, we were thinking there was light at the end of a much shorter tunnel than it turned out to be. Mm-hmm. But we were able to make it through. That show was performed all in masks. We bought these clear masks so you could see people's faces.
Okay.
And then I had a show in January that I moved to June. So we still have coming up a one-woman show called Every Brilliant Thing in our studio theater. And I moved it because I figured there'd be a post-Christmas spike of COVID. And it was in our small theater, 100 seats in the round. And I thought, I don't think people are going to be ready to be in a little room like that yet.
Fair enough.
At least with our 272 seat theater. I mean, we did everything from, first of all, we made it so that we would put 6 feet around every person. So every group of seats that were purchased. So our 272 seat theater was brought down to like 40 seats.
Wow.
It's hard. It's hard to make the bills payment when you're doing 40 people a night.
Right. Wow. You've really been able to figure it out though. So Every Brilliant Thing is the next thing that you're doing. And are you full seating right now? Are you masking? How are you?
Yeah, well, we also went through all of those. So we were following the cue from Broadway. And so for a while, our audience members were all masked, and we checked vaccination cards when they came in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our actors and crew members and any people who were front of house, they had to have proof of vaccination as well. And so now we have we followed those standards. And I got called a commie and a Nazi, and I got called a commie and a Nazi in the same sentence. Well, that person doesn't know history very well. And we had a few arguments, minor skirmishes, I would call them, in the lobby. Most people were very happy that we were doing it.
Yeah.
And then, but as it has gone on, and Lincoln went, from the red to the orange to the yellow and to green, and so we adapted and went, okay, now we don't need to require masks or vaccination cards from audience members at this moment, but we still are making sure that all of the participants are fully vaccinated. Last night we were doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and one of my actors is feeling a little under the weather and took a COVID test and was negative, but just as a precaution, he wore a mask last night in the performance. So, it's going to be a while we make these kind of adjustments through these next few months or even next year even.
Yeah. Is that one of the reasons that you're bringing back your one-man Christmas show for this upcoming season? I don't mean to get ahead of us, but
yeah. No, we're bringing back the one-man Christmas show because he was so great.
Yeah.
That's what I am.
That's what we read. Yeah.
Yeah, he was amazing. His name is Dick Terhune.
Terhune is how you say it. Okay.
Terhune, yeah. And he's one of our legends of the Playhouse, which is like the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
He was in lots of shows, moved out into the East Coast. He makes his living as a voice actor.
Yes.
So he does commercials and national commercials, and he is a voice of Transformers cartoons.
Wow.
Excellent.
So he really is a voice actor.
That's awesome.
And a couple of years ago, he put together this one-man version of Christmas Carol, and as you can imagine, he can do all the voices.
Of course.
Yeah.
And he did it, and we were actually going to bring it back bring it here, but COVID wiped it out first time. And then we said, why don't you bring it back? Why don't you bring it to us? And he did last year. And it was amazing. People came out raving. But of course, it was still in the COVID fairly heavy time. And so not as many people came to see it as really should have seen it. And I asked him if he would be willing to bring it back. And he said, yeah, he has family in the Lincoln area. So it's a great chance for him to do the show also. So Dick Terhune will be ushering in the holiday season at the Playhouse on November 18th through the 20th with a one-man version of A Christmas Carol. It is really an acting feat, and it's a beautiful show, and it's really funny. Yeah. And, one of the things you realize is that even though you're familiar with A Christmas Carol because of the Muppets or Mr. Magoo or, but all of those, this text is really right out of the book.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an edited dramatic version of the book. Mm-hmm. And so it brings you back to this detail of Charles Dickens' writing that you forgot about. And it's so rich, of course, which is why he's so famous and why the story is so famous.
Yes.
And there are moments that, because he can quickly pivot as a one-man actor into touching on a little scene that in a movie would require another set or different actors, and so they don't want to take that time. He can just give you an extra little illustration and colorization of a moment that you haven't heard.
Yes.
Because the Muppets cut it out.
I had a friend that went to see it last year, and they just raved about it. They said it was really, really neat.
So you've got a couple more shows before that. So to start your season, you're doing Something Rotten.
Yes.
Yeah, which, by the way, is the name of the play. Because you haven't even seen it yet. How do you know it's Something Rotten?
Well, we've heard. Something Rotten, yes.
My reputation precedes me. So Something Rotten opens in September at the Playhouse, and it's going to open season 77. It is a really funny musical comedy about two brothers, the Bottom Brothers. They are playwrights in Shakespeare's era in London, and they never seem to get a break. They always are writing bad shows and being threatened to be closed down. And that bum Shakespeare seems to have all the luck. So one of the Bottom brothers goes to a soothsayer to find out what's going to be the next big thing. And so the soothsayer he's a little wonky, and he comes up with the next big thing is the thing called a musical, where people sing and dance.
Okay.
And the guy's like, you got to be kidding. And which leads us into this really great number about what makes a musical, where there are references to all these great musicals of the past. Okay. And so they're working on it. So you're supposed to write what you know, right? So they the Bottom brothers decide to write a musical about the Black Death, the plague.
Okay.
Which, as you can imagine, doesn't seem to be going very well.
Right.
They're sick about the Black Plague. And so he's like, okay, so he goes back to the soothsayer and he goes, what's Shakespeare's next thing? And the soothsayer goes, okay, it's this thing about eggs. It's omelets. It's about omelets. And so the Bottom brothers start to write a musical about omelets.
Oh,
so, it's like he missed it by that much.
Exactly.
So, but it's a really funny show, and a lot of times we try to name our seasons. Like we did one season that we had a lot of shows that were either made into musicals or then became musicals after the film version. So we called it Reel to Reel, REAL to REEL.
Oh, okay.
Cute.
Yeah. And then this other one time we had this young actor I was listening to him do a talk back. And somebody asked him did he get stage fright? And he goes, yeah, I get a little stage fright, but mostly I think of it as being powered by excitement. And I said, oh, I love that phrase. I said, can I use that? So our season was called Powered by Excitement.
Powered by Excitement.
So this year we were thinking about not everything is rotten season, but it didn't seem to flow so well off the tongue.
Fair enough.
So we went with kind of, and my designer for the brochure wanted to do feet, to do different shoes. And so we're like, okay, so we went with stepping into season 77. And so Yeah, so all the brochure is going to have pictures of shoes and things, and we did a thing on social media where we put the shoes up and people could guess the shows, and people were guessing kinky boots and things that foot loose, and we're like, no, it's really called this because the designer wanted to do shoes. So it's called Stepping into Season 77. So we have Something Rotten, followed by Pride and Prejudice by Kate Hemmel.
All right,
and this is not your grandma's Pride and Prejudice or her Jane Austen. This is the kind of more like Pride and Prejudice meets Fast and Furious. Yeah. So it's really fast paced. It's funny. It's a little maniacal. I haven't decided yet whether it's going to be in the main stage or the studio theater. We're going to kind of see how it goes with Every Brilliant Thing. But it's really fun. It's a fun show. Actors playing multiple characters and costumes flying and this and that. So excellent. I think that'll be a good time. Yep. Christmas Carol, as we mentioned.
Yes.
And then we're going to do Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Jr.
Okay.
Live on stage, the television special.
Oh, wow. Really? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So it's got silver and gold. Have a holly jolly Christmas.
Yes.
We're a couple of misfits. The island of the misfit toys.
Yes.
Yep. On Cornelius, the Bumble, all of the stuff is there live on stage. So I think that'll be fun.
Wow.
That'll be great.
And when we have children's theater, what we like to do are we do free Title I school matinees. So there will be 2 shows that Title I schools are invited to come for free. And a lot of these kids have never seen a play before. So this will be a good intro for them.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we had the same kind of thing we had in Joseph. We did a free performance, so a free will offering.
Okay.
But anybody could come, right? And it was pretty much a sold out house last night. There were so many families there.
Nice.
Because some families can't bring 4 or 5 children to a play because that starts racking up the charge.
Yeah, it's a little much, yeah.
So they were able to bring them to this show, Joseph, and I think it was another great introduction to the theater for them.
Yes, absolutely.
I've noticed that you guys have done that a lot. You usually have one show per one performance per show that is kind of like a preview night that's free or donation.
Yep, and that was something we tried this year to try to open up our theater.
Yeah.
There's a thing, a guy used an expression many years ago to me, and it's called softening the doors. And, as a straight white man, I see doors as something to go through, and it's easy to not remember that doors can shut and doors can be locked.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this was one of the ways that we're trying to soften the doors so that everybody in our community could feel like the Playhouse was their playhouse. Yeah. And it was a way to break through some economic burdens so that they can come and see the play.
I love that.
Cool. That's a really great idea.
What else are you finding? Are you finding that's really, are you getting more?
Are you seeing new faces?
We are seeing new faces. Now, it will be interesting. Again, the biggest success for that all year was actually Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And some of that may be the choice of material. Some of it also may be, as with the bigger crowds we're seeing for that show, is that we are kind of moving on from the COVID panic.
Yeah.
Which is really great.
So we'll see how it goes with other things that we do. Yeah. We also do things like we have theater arts academies, which are classes, and we do scholarships for those, full scholarships, at least 2 a camp in scholarship. So trying to do some things.
That's wonderful. I'm super impressed with that. Very forward thinking. And
I love the idea of offering the free or donation performances, because people will show up that maybe have never been exposed to theater or never would have been exposed to theater because it's too expensive, we can't take everybody.
And that goes back to the article that they wrote about you in the Lincoln Journal in January. You were talking a lot about how you've kind of looked to be more diverse. So this actually is part of that, what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of things that this theater is trying to do and to make us more inclusive and more diverse as a theater operation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I should mention that when we do the Title I school matinees, We also, I always say that was that's when we're the most diverse, is when we have children from Title I schools, 272 kids filling our theater. But each of the kids receives a copy of the book the play is based on when they leave.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and some of that is because we're right next door to Gear Library here in Lincoln. And so we have a nice partnership with them. We go over and do preview songs for them of our camps and things. But talking to the librarians, they said that it was the average amount of private ownership of books. So how many books are in Bobby's room or Susie's room? When you're a more middle class or more affluent household, it's like 13 and a half books per kid. All right. In lower income households, private ownership of books is 1 per every 300 kids.
Oh my gosh.
That is a book they own.
Wow.
And so we made it one of our missions years ago to try to get books into kids' hands. We've had little kids grab these books and can't believe that it's actually their book. Right. And this is really my book. Yes, this is your book.
Wow, what a sobering number.
Yeah, wow. And this little kid said, this book is my book forever. Yeah. And another kid, when we did Frozen, all of the kids got a nice, like a big golden book of the story of Frozen. Aww. And one of the kids wrote us a thank you note that said, "Thank you for the book. Now I have something to give my sister for Christmas."
Oh my gosh.
So really a great thing to do. Great thing to do. So much fun to see these kids get the books. It also, let's face it, allows the theater performance to have a longer life in their memories, because they can go through and look at the book and remember seeing the play. Mm-hmm. We've been also told by teachers that they will take that book then, and in class, they'll read it as a class and discuss what was different about the book as opposed to what they saw on the stage. And why do they think that those things were different?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So it becomes a classroom a lesson as well. So it's another good thing that we do that I'm very proud of.
Wow. That's definitely something to be proud of. I didn't realize those numbers were so sobering.
Yeah, they're pretty sad, aren't they?
Yeah.
For sure.
So we're doing our best. And then part of also our efforts to expand our programming and our inclusivity. This season we did a show called Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters.
Yeah.
Which was our first all black cast in forever at the Playhouse. And it was a children's book and story based on an African Zimbabwe folktale. And so that started to expand our choices of plays. And we also had an almost all black production team for that. So I had a lighting designer that came from Chicago, a costume designer that came from North Carolina, and a set designer that came from California.
Wow.
Excellent.
Work on that. And then we had local stage manager, music director, choreographer, and director. But so the next year, the season 77 season, we have the show called The Mountaintop by Katori Hall. This is a drama. It's an adult drama as opposed to the kids show that we did this season. Okay. But this is the story of the last night in the life of Martin Luther King. So it's set in his hotel room at the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis. And it is an amazing piece of theater. Wow. So it's really deep, and it's two people. It's Martin Luther King and Kame, a maid that it comes in and brings him some coffee.
Okay, so it's just a 2-person show. Okay.
2-person show.
Oh, neat.
Really kudos to you for doing Mufaro's Daughters. Because that's always the challenge, is to find enough people to come out and try and audition and make sure that, we've got enough diversity in our audition pool. How did you handle that challenge?
Well, I mean, part of it is also that if you don't do plays that have those kind of roles available, then it's harder to get the people to come and audition for the show. Yeah. So, it really is like the chicken or the egg kind of thing, and you basically have to jump in and say, here's we're doing this play, and you get the word out, and you find places to get the word out, and you connect with everybody that's in your group, and especially your BIPOC members of your group, and you get the word out and say, we're turning things. That's why there was the story in the newspaper, and that kind of stuff, to try to help people understand that the Playhouse is making an effort.
Right.
And then, we talk to people at the Malone Center and the F Street Center. These are community centers out there that have a broader population than is generally here at the Playhouse. So that's how we did that. And we're going to continue to do that. And this is efforts that are from top to bottom. Okay, so here's the deal. So I was just, this is kind of a long story, but when after the George Floyd murder and the re-rise of Black Lives Matter, there were theaters all across the country, regional theaters and community theaters, all posting, we support Black Lives Matters. And I'm a liberal person. My knee-jerk reaction was to post something like that, but I was a little late. But as you looked at the postings, they would say, we support Black Lives Matters. And in the comments would be comments like, that's great. Show us a picture of your board of directors. Oh, that's great. Show us a picture of your staff.
Sure.
That's great. Show us a picture of your last 3 seasons. Yeah. What kind of plays are you doing? And I was like, let's do a little self-assessment. And we did a self-assessment of the Playhouse, and we do not have actually a very good track record. Nothing to be boasting about in that area. So what we decided to do, instead of posting something on social media and support, we decided to go from top to bottom and do research and figure out what we needed to do, what kind of directions we needed to do. And so we really diversified our board of directors. We looked at our seasons, and we started a DEIA committee on the board of directors. And the people on that committee looked at possible play titles to include in our theater, which is why we did Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, because part of their direction was from this committee was we don't want to see a Black trauma play right now.
Right. Yes.
We want to see some more like Black joy play.
Yeah.
And one of the ways to do that was to go with the youth, because youth theater generally tends to be kind of a positive, life affirming kind of material. And we looked at our hiring practices and realized that we hadn't really hired BIPOC artists with any sort of consistency or even really trying to reach out. And so that's one of the reasons why our artists came from California, North Carolina, and Chicago.
Right.
To try to start us up and get some history under us that's better history.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So, it was a long process. It was a long process, and we're still working on it, and we're not anywhere near where we need to be, but we are at least going in the right direction now, I think.
That's incredible that you guys took a step back and did all that, and that's really admirable. And,
very admirable.
Yeah, and pretty incredible. I mean, I can't. It's not every place that's going to go, oh, wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah.
What do we need to do? Most people
be able to look at it objectively.
To look back at themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then now, so you're doing the Mountaintop, which is going to be geared towards more of a BIPOC community. So, and that's a 2-person play, you said.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah, but also I'll tell you, because Martin Luther King is one of the characters in it,
sure,
that broadens it out beyond the BIPOC community as well. Sure. I think white people will go, oh, Martin Luther King. This sounds interesting. I would like to see this go about Martin Luther King.
Yeah, about his last night. Yeah.
But yes, it certainly has a focus in the BIPOC community as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of it's a fictional type.
Sort of historical fiction.
Life.
Historical fiction. Yeah.
It can't say too much about it because but it's certainly. It's rooted in history, but veers from it,
right?
Okay.
Fairly quickly,
into tell the story.
Being another element. But it not only is it really engrossing, and the performers are going to be just great, but it does relate the events, the history, the life of Martin Luther King with what happens all the time past his time.
Yeah,
that's cool.
up to the moment. It's intriguing, it's exciting, it's devastating, but it really is soul stirring.
Yeah.
And then so after that you're doing Sweeney Todd, which
Sweeney Todd.
Opera Omaha just did this past year. I'm sure you'll be doing it differently though.
Yes. Yes. Well, I didn't see the Omaha production because that was the opera company, right?
Yes.
The opera,
So right now we're looking at steampunk.
Oh,
Doing a
interesting.
steampunk Sweeney. So now I'm on the record of saying it. I guess I better do it.
But you said
committed.
you were thinking about it, so you know.
Yeah. So Sweeney Todd, of course, Sondheim's death really shook up the theater world because
Sure.
most of us of a certain age, even though I'm a little older, there's always been Stephen Sondheim in my world.
Absolutely. He's always been there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of a shock when he died. It was like some people are not supposed to,
right.
but so we went back. It's like, we want to do one of his works as kind of a celebration of his legacy, and Sweeney Todd is it's an exciting musical. I think I think it's his master work.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And I just was real excited to do it. And I got to tell you that I'm not the biggest Sondheim fan. I admit that. Sweeney Todd, for instance, is a recording that I never put on my record player, or put it in the compact disc player, or stream it. But in the theater, oh my God, it's so powerful.
Yeah, it is.
And so this will be a chance to put it in its rightful place, which is in a theater. So I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Wow. And what kind of musicians are you going to bring in for that?
Hopefully really good ones. I should also mention that we did a survey of a bunch of our acting pool of different titles before we put this season together. And pretty much most of these are shows that they picked as first or second in the categories that things were available to me. Oh. So I think this is going to be a real good actor season because they, in some ways, help pick it.
Okay, so they're already sort of primed and ready.
They're a little excited by some of these titles.
I love Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd is one of those like golden ring titles where it's not done that often, but yet so many theater people love it.
Yes,
passionately.
For sure. It was one of the first professional productions I ever saw when I was younger. Was Sweeney Todd, and holy cow, left a big impression.
And then you're going to be doing some kind of musical comedy, Murders.
Yeah, it's called the Musical Comedy Murders of 1940.
1940,
okay.
Yeah. So I will tell you that originally I was trying to get the rights to the play That Goes Wrong.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good play.
Which is so funny, such a funny play, the funniest play I've ever seen. But those rights were not available to me. So I'm like, what else can I do that's theater-ish and silly? And this play, are you familiar with the Musical Comedy Murder of 1940?
I am not.
Okay. So, it's like a old Bob Hope, almost horror haunted house kind of movie.
Oh, okay.
All right. So it's about a group of musical theater people from Broadway who have not been together for years. And the last show they did together suffered from a person called the Stage Door Strangler killing off the chorus girls.
Oh, my God.
Right? So now they're back together. They're back together to work on a new musical. So unfortunately, they decided their backer, the person that they're trying to get to back it with money, lives in a remote old mansion.
Okay.
All right. And it happens to be a blizzard going on.
Of course.
And the phones go out.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So there's the director and the lyricist and the composer. And there's a young actor and a chorus girl and a couple of other people. And people start dying.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. And so who is the stage door slasher?
Right.
Well, it's maybe somebody in that room.
Right.
Because they're starting to drop. So, but there's secret passageways and dual identities, and it's just and filled top to bottom with theater jokes. So,
that sounds
a lot of fun.
awesome. Oh,
That
yeah,
sounds like
very
fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of your farce for the season then. Well,
Yep,
I guess
it
Something
is.
Rotten might be a little bit of a farce.
Yeah.
Musical, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully not Sweeney Todd, but
No.
And then we close out our season with our beloved Penguin Project.
Yeah.
And here this next year, we're going to do Newsies Junior, which will be in June of 2023. Yeah. And the Penguin Project we have done since 2014.
You guys are really well known for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not my idea, but it was started by a man named Dr. Andy Morgan in Peoria, Illinois. Okay. One of my board members at the time knew somebody in Illinois who had also done the Penguin Project. He had a couple of different satellite chapters in Illinois. And they sent me a video. They sent her a video. She handed it off to me. And I looked at it. I'm like, we have got to do this. Because the basic idea is that it's a musical theater production, usually a junior show from MTI, that all of the roles are played by children with special needs partnered with peer mentors. And it just, the fact that you were opening up the theater to people with special needs, that there was this partnership, this breaking down of barriers between people, and that Dr. Andy was very interested in trying to make it a national program. So we were the fourth theater to sign up for the Penguin Project, the first outside of Illinois, and now there's 50 chapters.
Wow. Nice.
So and I'm proud to say that some of those chapters are directly related to us, because I know people in our community theater networks who were like, what the heck is this Penguin Project thing you're doing, Morrie? Okay. Yeah. And, we go to conventions and conferences, and I would talk about it, and people would sign up. Right. So it is going really well across the country. And it is an amazing performance, because we start, our normal run is we start rehearsing it in February, and then it performs in June. So it is a very long time. It uses up a lot of real estate at the theater. Okay. We start out with two rehearsals a week. It builds up after a month to 3, builds up after a month to 4, and then kind of goes into what would be a regular production schedule. Our actors are children who have autism. They are blind. They're deaf. They have attention deficit. They have Down syndrome. They use wheelchairs. They use walkers. All sorts of things that these kids have in their lives every day. And they come to the theater, and it is an amazing experience to work with them. Yeah. They are great people. They're fun people. And one of the actors was actually at Joseph last week. And I said to her, I said, I'm glad you're here. Are you excited to be here? And she said, yes, I'm excited. The Penguins are doing Newsies Junior. Intermission, I said, how are you liking it? She goes, it's great. The Penguins are doing Newsies Junior. And afterwards I said, did you like the show? She goes, yes, the Penguins are doing Newsies Junior. So these kids are real excited.
They're ready, man.
She needs to go out into the public, and that'll be everything that
she's your PR person right there.
Exactly.
And it works as a theater piece on multiple levels, because first of all, they do a really good job telling the story. Mm-hmm. And, we did Elf Jr. last December, and the jokes are all landing.
Wow.
And the heart strings are all being strummed and all that by the storytelling. And yet on another level, you're watching a stage filled with usually around 60, 66 kids, 30 artists, which are the kids with special needs, and 30 mentors, who are the typically developed kids. And you see the partnerships going on between those teams. Yeah. And you enjoy the theater on that level as well. And you also, you see these kids who have had, it's like I say, one of the things when you become a director, one of the best parts of being a director is you get to say yes to people. All right. You get to say, yes, I want you in that part. Yes, you're going to be good. Yes, you sound great singing. Yes, look at the great dancing you're doing. Yes, you look great in that costume. Yes, that was a great show. And once you start saying yes, all of these walls that we have restricting us start falling down, because you've been told yes.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so the kids who are in the artists in the Penguin Project, have had a lot of world of no. Yes. And they get told yes when they come to the Penguin Project, and things happen. So, and things happen in all of the plays. This great transformative thing that we do called theater, but it's really obvious in the Penguin Project. So one of our young guys has autism, and he had a delayed response time of 45 seconds. So if you would ask him a question, it could take 45 seconds for the circuits to work channel a response back to you. Right now, that delayed response time is 0 seconds.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's because of the Penguin Project. And what we found out was one of the therapies that therapists use to help shorten delayed response time is they read things back and forth with the kid.
Yeah.
You know, they call that therapy and charge lots of money. We call it rehearsal and it's free.
That's right. That's rehearsal, baby.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we have kids with autism who, you know, and a lot of kids with autism don't like to touch or be touched. You know, there was one kid who was playing King Triton in The Little Mermaid. And at the bottom of the page in the stage direction, it says King Triton hugs his daughter. We never went there.
Good. Okay.
And if we got just before performances and those last couple rehearsals, there his arms went around and he hugged her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's actually hugged me. And now actually when he leaves the theater, like he was an elf, he was fake Santa in Elf, and he would leave and he'd see me and he'd run over to the lobby and give me a hug goodbye.
Wow.
So, you know, it's a magical thing that we do in the theater, and the Penguin Project is a really very, very visible and very heartfelt version of what we see all the time in the theater, but most people don't really notice that.
Right. That's amazing.
For sure.
I've heard so many good things about the Penguin Project. I'm so glad that you are able to continue to do it and to get enough volunteers to mentor too. That in and of itself, to find 30 people, that could be difficult. So
yes, and those are all young people.
Yeah.
You know, it's ages 10 through 22. And these young people who do it, who are mentors, often recruit the other mentors for us in their friend group. They talk about it and they bring them in. You know, and it's a little corner of what's going to save the world.
Yeah.
All right, is the Penguin Project, because there's so much empathy in the Penguin Project that as a mentor, you have to not think about yourself. You have to think about the other person. You know, you're going to learn all of the lines. You're going to learn all the music, all the dance steps, and then you're going to stand 3 feet upstage of someone who does them.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. You're going to have a bag with you that has props so that when your artist needs a prop, you hand it to them and they use it, and then they hand it back and you put it back in your bag. You're the person who is making sure that when your artist is done in the scene, that they know where to go next. They know where the exit is. Because, you know, a lot of our artists are really great in moment A and moment C, but they have trouble with the transition moment of B.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So they're right in the scene. And when the scene's done, they need help to get them off stage.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's what's coming next.
Okay.
And then you hang out with them backstage. You know, you're their buddy all the time backstage. You're playing cards with them. You're talking to them. Sometimes you're just sitting with them. When we do the play, a lot of the kids can't handle the noise of a green room. So we basically, every other part of the theater becomes the green room. Okay. And if you ever come to the Penguin Project, and you come out and you walk around the theater, you'll often see artists and mentor teams walking together to just be in the quiet. And they're listening through monitors, and they kind of have a feeling when the show is, and then they move back into the louder theater area and do their entrance and do their thing, and then they move back out into the quiet space again. Wow. And you know, to do that, to have enough care in your soul that you're willing to do that for someone else, that is what's going to keep the world going.
Wow. And are you going to direct? Do you direct that show, or are you going to direct all of your shows in your season, or do you have other directors helping you?
Well, we just put out a call for people who want to put in their application in for designing, for directing. I mean, directing, for music directing, choreographers, sound people, stage managers, and if you're interested in scenic design, lighting design, costume design, and then those people send in their requests, and I'll sort through all of those. So I usually pick what I direct after that is all done.
Oh,
actually,
wow.
Okay.
My goal is that every
see what's
on
left.
the season. Yeah, my goal is that everything on the season is something I really like.
Yeah.
So I can jump in and not feel like I'm getting the seconds.
Right. It doesn't matter.
I
like everything. Yeah.
I love all these plays. So.
Oh, wow. Well, you're just such an interesting person. You've done so much. And every time I see you, I just think energy. Like you just have all of this energy.
Well, I got to tell you, when I applied for my first theater job, which was in La Crosse, Wisconsin, at the interview, near the end of the interview, one of the board members said, "Is there any way to contain your energy?" And I said, "Why would you want to?"
Right, exactly. How rude.
This is what you want somebody with tons of energy.
Exactly. Well, you definitely are.
The thing is, when I was in 4th grade and I played a king in my classroom play, and my costume was my bathrobe that I brought from home. And it was the first time people noticed me. And I got positive feedback, and I've been involved in the theater since 4th grade. And I never, this was always my goal, was to be in the theater. Mm-hmm. I think there was a 2-week period that I worked in work study at a cafeteria making toast. But all my other jobs in the theater in my school were involved, like college was involved with our arts events or things like that. Okay. So I have really had 3 jobs in my life.
Wow.
And they've all been theater jobs. So it's been a great life.
Yeah, because you were the artistic director at Kalamazoo Civic Theater and the managing director at La Crosse Community Theater in Wisconsin. So Michigan and Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'm from Michigan originally.
Okay.
I was born, right here. You can't see that, just audio, but I'm holding up my hand. As people in Michigan do, we hold up our hand and point to where we're from.
Yes.
So yes. Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and then I went to work for 18 years at La Crosse Community Theater as the artistic/managing director. It's interesting. When I arrived, it was managing/artistic director.
Oh.
But I believe that there is not a theater in the world that was created because someone wanted something else to manage.
Right.
Right. I believe every theater was created because people want to do theater.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So about 1.5 years in, I just changed it to be the artistic/managing director. And I don't think anyone noticed, but it made me feel better.
Wow.
There you go. All right. Fair enough.
Well,
yeah.
And you won a bunch of different awards. And then I noticed that you are you're an admiral in the Navy.
Oh, that's an admiral in the Nebraska Navy. That's kind of an honorary title. Yes.
How do you get that?
I'm not an admiral. No, I've been on a boat 3 times, I think, in my life. But no, admiral in the Nebraska Navy. So that's kind of an honorary title. However, I'm proud to be a fellow of the American Association of Community Theater.
Nice.
Which is kind of the highest you can get on the national level.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the Hall of Fame of the La Crosse Community Theater. I'm very proud of that as well. And I'm also proud that I am a licensed New York City sightseeing guide.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Excellent.
I am actually, yes. So I do tours to New York, and I've done tours for many, many years.
Wow.
I love New York City, and I love showing it around to people. And just a minute here. Oh, yes. Here's my official sightseeing tour guide badge.
Look at you. That's awesome.
After doing all these tours, I'm like, I'm going to go in and take the test. So, admittedly, I studied for the test.
Yeah.
So, but I went into this bureaucratic city office, and I sat down. This lady, I had to take a test at this computer, and when I was done, she looked at graded me. She goes, "Maurice, you passed with a star," which means I got enough right to get a star.
Wow.
With a star. And I said, "I bet I'm the first person in Nebraska to pass that test." And she said, "I think you're the first person from Nebraska who ever walked in this room."
Right.
Oh,
wow. So is it just theater related stuff that you?
No, it's all about
everything.
just general New York sightseeing.
I mean, I will admit that I know a lot about small areas. So like what I specialize in when I take tours in New York or lead tours, I do a Broadway walking tour around about to tell them the history of the theaters and all that, and the famous stars and the ghost stories. And and I do a tour that goes up to Rockefeller Center, and I talk about Rockefeller Center, Radio City Music Hall, St. Patrick's Cathedral, and then I do the New York Public Library and Grand Central Station.
Wow.
Cool.
Actually, Yeah, actually, I just said it wrong. Grand Central Terminal, because it's not a station.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just failed one of the questions. On
oh no! It's all right.
That's okay.
Because all of the trains either start or end there. It's not a station. A station is there. It's on its way.
That's
the train
true. It is
goes,
a terminal. That's
yes.
right.
But anyway, so I specialize in that specific area. But I've been around New York quite a bit.
So,
cool.
do you take people from Nebraska to New York, or that's just something that you do when you go to New York?
No, we from the Lincoln Community Playhouse, we do tours to New York City.
Oh wow!
I've actually done 2 tours I did a tour for a group from Michigan and a group when I wasn't there, just recently, and a group from Kentucky.
Wow!
So people asked me to come along with them. I'm like, sure, I'll come along with you.
That's
awesome fun. And then I've also led a couple of London tours, and we're working for 2024, I think it is, a tour to Greece.
Wow!
Neat.
Yeah, the goal is with the Greece tour is you can evidently rent time on one of the stages of these ancient theaters.
Oh.
So we're going to rent it. That's the goal, is to rent it for 15 minutes, hand everybody a scene from Oedipus, and act a Greek show on the Greek stage.
Oh my God!
That's so fun.
I know. You want to sign up, don't you?
Oh my God!
I actually think that tour might actually get some people from around the country to go. Theater people to go, hell, I'll do that.
Absolutely.
Oh my God!
I think you got one, Morrie.
Neat.
I'll send you a brochure.
Please.
That's awesome. And what an
cool
interesting
is
thing
that?
to think of doing when you don't even live there. That's pretty amazing.
I love that.
You must really love New York and wish that you lived there, or you like to live here and you like to just be able to visit.
Well, I've always said if I could live in New York the way I live when I visit, I would say, but living in New York as a normal person is kind of a hard life.
Right.
I have to admit, as exciting as it is, it's a hard life. I had a friend of mine who just died a few weeks ago, and he was a Broadway hoofer. Okay. So he was a dancer for, he did 13 Broadway shows in a career that was 36 years long or something like that. He was in the original cast of Chicago, the original cast of 42nd Street.
Wow.
He danced with Vivian Leigh, Scarlett O'Hara.
Holy cow.
He was in a musical called Irene that starred Debbie Reynolds. And during the summer, she wanted to keep track of her high school age daughter. So she put her in the chorus. And my friend was the dance partner for Princess Leia.
No way.
Yeah. He also kept danced with Gene Kelly.
I'm
so
jealous.
All those years, he lived in an apartment that was tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Tiny New
tiny.
York apartment.
Yeah. Yes. And the kitchen was, and even though he was a gourmet chef, so he made it work, but the kitchen was like the least version of a galley kitchen that you can think of.
Right.
And it was, and the bathroom was kind of abysmal, and I'm like, and there's a guy who had a career.
Yeah.
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 And I'm not sure that I'm quite, I hate to admit it, but I'm not sure I was ever quite up for that kind of life.
Right.
Fair enough.
Yeah. No, Lincoln, Nebraska.
I love to visit.
Yeah.
I love to visit.
Yes.
Well, Lincoln,
And I love
Nebraska's
London too. I'm so into London now, actually.
Oh.
So yeah, I really love that town a lot as well.
Some friends over there.
That's another place that is has a challenge of real estate too.
Yes,
The real estate.
I follow things like Time Out New York and Time Out London on Facebook, and they're always listing you can have this 1-room, 8 square feet apartment for £1 million.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
And
But I like to do things like when I go to London, I have this book of where famous people lived. So I have visited Oscar Wilde's house 3 times. I just stand across the street and look at it and go, my God, through that window he wrote The Importance of Being Earnest.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy to think about? Wow. Well, you live an exciting life, even living in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is a pretty great place to live. So.
Yes, it is a lovely community.
It is nice up there.
Well, and you've really made the Lincoln Community Playhouse into something pretty amazing. I mean, you've got 2 stages and no more bathhouse. That's awesome.
No more bathhouse.
Not bad, right?
I think that's pretty darn good.
No one has to wear towels anymore when they go to the plant.
But you can. It's optional, right?
Yes.
And also,
masks and towels are all optional here.
That's right. And lest we forget, Penguin's doing Newsies Junior. So I think that's our big takeaway. Penguin's doing Newsies Junior.
Yeah.
It's an yes, that's right. As good as everything else is.
Penguin's doing Newsies Junior, man. Did you
she's
hear?
Actually, I'm going to her graduation party tonight, and I will. Anybody want to make a bet? She's going to tell me that.
Yes, she will. She will be there. I can't wait.
She's your best advertisement.
Just
well,
wonderful.
It is such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much.
And we really look forward to season 77. That is stepping into season 77.
There we go.
Yes, and you know what? If you ever want me to come back and talk about shows or whatever, I'm happy to do it.
Absolutely, we would absolutely love that. We love what you're doing, and we're just super excited to work with you.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morrie Enders, the Executive Director of the Lincoln Community Playhouse.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and supporting the arts in the Platte River area and beyond. Please subscribe to our podcast so you are sure to catch all of our future episodes and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Music for this podcast was used with permission by Screaming Skull Productions. See you next time on the Platte River Bard.